In this part, we want to add the send message functions. So first we have to add the state to store the input value. So we create use state, and then we set the input, and we capitalize this letter. And then at the input component, we want to detect on change, and then the input value will change with the user typing. So now we set the input as the event.target.values. And now we are going to create the send message functions. So we go to the top, and at here we add the send message functions, and there are a few things that this function is doing. The first thing is this part is to store the user active time. So when the send message, it will go to the user and go to the user ID. So for example, if you go to here, and this is the example, and it will add the last scene at this document. And the next thing is, of course, we want to send the message. So if this is going to send a message, it will go to the chat, and for example, it will go to this chat ID and send the message, and which will inside the message collections. And let's see whether we have an example. There's no example. And the document will include the timestamp, message, user, and the photo URL. And the last thing is we want to add the latest message and corresponding time, because if you remember, we will list out the latest message at the sidebar, and also we will have the times displayed at this position. And of course, at last, after we send the message, we have to clear the input values. And since we used many Firestore functions, so we have to go to the top and import them to the project. And we also use current user ID, so we have to use the use of. So we type constant current user, and then is equal to use of, and we have to import from the Firebase config file, and which should be the auth provider. And there is one thing that we also have to import the DB from the config file. So I think this is good to go. So let's try to send the message. And we haven't set the initial state should be the empty string, so we back to the input value and change this to empty string. Have to bind the send message functions to the button, to the input. But first we have to add the button which is hidden, and this will disable when there is no input values. And then we bind the onClick functions, which is send message, to send the message. And now if we try to type hello and press enter, and also we have to add the value is equal to input. And then now we can try to send another message. For example, we type hello, and now you can see the message is cleared and the latest message shown on the sidebar. And if you go back to the Firestore, you can see we have this latest message at the chat, and we can also see the new collections, which is message, is already added to the chat. And now if you go to the users, you can see it has the last seen added to the users document.